И всем здорово, продолжаем проходить Portal с RTX. Так, на прошлом стриме у нас были бонусные карты. Сегодня у нас комментарии разработчиков. Быстренько пробежимся и закончим с этой игрой. Достижение у нас осталось одно, но я его сегодня не выполнил. И на стриме никак не выполнил. Время комментариев включено.
Welcome to
Game name here.
Hopefully you've already had a chance to enjoy the offbeat perspective and new game mechanic of Portal. To listen to a commentary node, put your crosshair over the floating commentary symbol and press your use key. To stop a commentary node, put your crosshair over the rotating node and press the use key again. Some commentary nodes may take control of the game in order to show something to you. In these cases, simply press your use key again to stop the commentary. Please let me know what you think after you've had a chance to play, as we think we are just at the beginning of taking advantage of this type of gameplay. I can be reached at gaben@valvesoftware.com. Thanks, and have fun.
It's absolutely critical that players quickly wrap their heads around what a portal is. We noticed early playtesters grasped the concept much more quickly when they caught a glimpse of themselves through a portal. So we deliberately positioned this first portal to ensure that players will invariably see themselves. One of the things we learned from Narbacular Drop, our student project that became Portal, was that players often thought portals took them into other spaces, or even other dimensions. To help fight that notion, we start players in a visually unique room with memorable objects, so that when they walk through a portal for the first time, they have a clear point of reference which communicates the idea that they're still in the same basic location. For instance, the radio, which is playing an instrumental version of Still Alive, helps as well by providing some audio continuity.
Stand back. The portal will open in 3, 2, 1.
We put the player character in an orange jumpsuit to reinforce the fact.
These frosted glass observation rooms make the player feel as if they're being watched at all.
Portal is effectively an extended player training exercise. We spend a huge portion of the game introducing a series of gameplay tools, then layering those tools into increasingly difficult puzzles. This layering starts here, where we train the button and box mechanic, before introducing the more complicated concept of portals.
В Half-Life и в Портале, в РФП, там какие еще игры я играл вот так, потому что они такие долгие, не знаю. Вот.
We wanted players to feel safe while standing in a portal, so we never kill them or destroy objects within a portal that's closing. Instead, we either push or teleport objects out of a portal as it closes.
Perfect. Please move quickly to the chamber lock.
We very deliberately introduce and train each gameplay concept in Portal, so that once players reach this spot, we're confident that they know what a portal is and roughly how it works. Early versions of the game let players stumble through the beginning, without always understanding what was going on, which really compromised teaching new concepts.
Не знаю. А тут вряд ли они кому-то интересны.
In early versions of this map, playtesters would charge down the stairs without noticing what was creating the portal. We introduced a mandatory pause in the action, what we call a gate, to help ensure that players stop and notice the portal gun making the blue portal. The particle effect and a loud noise helped draw their attention.
Very good. You are now in possession of the Aperture Science handheld portal device. With it, you can create your own portals. These intradimensional gates have proven to be completely safe. The device, however, has not. Do not touch the operational end of the device. Do not look directly at the operational end of the device. Do not submerge the device in liquid, even partially. Most importantly, under no circumstances.
This room was designed to make players understand that entrance and exit portals aren't tied.
When rendering the player's view through a portal, we must render a separate image using a virtual camera which looks out of the opposite portal.
The combination of portal-destroying fields, which we call fizzlers, and the elevators serve a dual purpose. They provide a clearly identifiable endpoint for each test chamber, while also addressing the more practical problem of how to keep players from portaling across level loads. We eventually integrated the fizzler.
For training purposes, there's generally just one correct solution to these early puzzles. The original version.
Integrating portals with Source Engine's physics system was a complex process that required several iterations to achieve the right balance of performance and correctness. Because portals can be placed virtually anywhere in the game's environment, the physics system had to be modified to allow dynamic changes to its representation of colliding geometry, such as the walls and floor around this box, and any objects which may lie on the opposite side of the portal. Initial implementations of this dynamic collision generation system could take up to 1/2 of 1 second, or 500 milliseconds, to compute the correct collision. This may not sound like a long time in everyday life, but this pause during the portal creation was quite noticeable in the context of a game.
Early versions of Portal featured more detailed, cluttered environments, much like Half-Life 2. We quickly realized that unnecessary objects scattered all over the place distracted players to the point where it actually interfered with the Portal training process. So we simplified the art style to favor clean, focused test chambers. The modular approach we settled on makes it look plausible that the chambers can reform dynamically on these pistons.
As part of a required test protocol, our previous statement suggesting that we would not monitor this chamber was an outright fabrication. Good job. As part of a required test protocol, we will stop enhancing the truth in 3, 2.
И всего так 26 вроде бы штук. Я их уже носил в первом портале оригинальном. Тоже как бы там не получилось пройти. Я сам его делал. Ну, оно и не получится, как бы.
To make puzzles deeper than just teleporting to the exit, we had to include surfaces that won't hold a portal, which are formally introduced here. We experimented with several surface designs before we settled on this one, whose visual noise and reflectivity make it easy to identify at a distance.
В комментариях в эпизоде втором нес гнома через всю игру. Это было не просто. Я его просто нес через всю игру, а потом засунул в ракету. И оказывается, мне не давали ачивку, я потом, оказывается, только понял, узнал, то, что в комментариях ачивки не дают. Вот. И это, в принципе, на все игры вау.
Originally, these scaffolds ran on electrified tracks, but crafty playtesters would hop along the rails to the exit, bypassing the puzzle entirely. We tried to solve this by killing players as soon as they touched the rails. That solution ended up being too much of an overcorrection, as even skilled playtesters were getting frustrated by these one-hit kills in the more complex puzzles later in the game. Making the scaffolds run along immaterial beams of light solved both problems.
Придется потом еще раз мне перепройти. Ну там не до конца вроде бы нужно проходить. Я просто донесу все радио, там вроде бы не до конца нужно ее проходить. Посмотрим.
Even though layering player training was a design goal from the start,
we previously talked about how we handle static portal collision, but collision with moving objects on the other side of a portal is a completely different and equally hard problem. Walking onto this scaffold was a very iffy proposition for the first few months of development. We solved the problem of colliding with these dynamic objects by cloning the objects from one portal to the other and strictly controlling what objects are allowed to collide with each other and how they're allowed to collide.
Very impressive. Please note that any appearance of danger is merely a device to enhance your testing experience.
Because our
For the first few months of development, we rendered the views through portals to 2 off-screen textures. This approach was easy to implement and was compatible with a wide range of graphics hardware. Unfortunately, this method was incompatible with anti-aliasing and consumed a large amount of video memory in order to handle recursive views through several portals. Because of these disadvantages, we switched to a system which renders portal views recursively into the frame buffer with the aid of the stencil buffer to isolate pixels corresponding to a given portal. This is a more effective scheme because it is compatible with anti-aliasing and does not consume any additional video memory for off-screen textures.
Portal momentum ended up being the hardest concept to convey. For this series of puzzles, which went through more design iterations than virtually any other part of the game, we introduced
using gravity to fall into one portal so that you come rocketing out the other portal. A skill we call flinging was another difficult concept to train.
Originally, these exit portal surfaces were static geometry in the final position, but playtesters stubbornly refused to look up to find them. This is another example of the classic game design problem of coaxing players to look up. By putting the portals on moving pistons, we were able to start them in a position that players were more likely to see.
We found that rather than looking into portals to see where it went, playtesters would often leap blindly to their doom. In response to this observation, the moral of this puzzle is, this room is
Originally, a weighted button was used to open the far door, but playtesters so strongly associated boxes with buttons that they'd get stuck searching hopelessly for a box. We changed the big button to a pedestal-mounted push button, thus removing the box association, but playtesters still had trouble realizing they needed to shoot a portal through the door. Adding a ticking timer sound when the door was open cued players that the puzzle expected them to act during that time, which solved the problem.
Modified so that it can now manufacture 2 linked portals at once. As part of an optional test protocol, we are pleased to present an amusing fact. The device is now more valuable than the organs and combined incomes of everyone in Subject Hometown here.
player training doesn't always stick, especially after the introduction of a big new concept. For instance, after they had acquired the fully powered portal device, playtesters often forgot about the fling maneuver. Since it's such an important skill, this puzzle is designed to reintroduce the idea of flinging.
Да, конечно, игра намного красивее выглядит так, чем обычно. Ну это и понятно, блин, там. Обычная игра в 7-м году вышла, а это в 22-м. Но у меня и не все еще и на максималках вроде бы стоит даже. Но я читал, что как-то странно эта игра работает вообще.
When we moved from largely placeholder art to a final visual design, this was the first level to get a facelift. We chose this map because it had many of our gameplay elements.
This is the first map in which we experimented with solving the puzzle in as few portal placements as possible. We tried to fit that concept into the story mode, but were never quite able to sell it. Instead of abandoning the idea altogether, we added the concept to a series of post-game challenge maps.
A problem we came across with virtually any puzzle involving boxes and doors was that the players could portal the boxes to the other side of the door, thereby trapping themselves in a room with buttons but no boxes. We set up special triggers to detect and handle these cases, and then added the box delivery tubes.
A few playtesters put a portal on the floor.
This is a great spot to appreciate the recursive nature of portals. If you place a portal on each side of this hallway, you'll notice the portals seem to go...
We designed this room to draw the player's eyes to the box. The light from the observation room casts horizontal shadows that point at the box, which is directly lit by a warm light from the ceiling. This warm light helps the box stand out against the predominantly cool test chamber lighting. The varying size squares of the off-limit surface also help direct the player's attention upward.
Very good. A complimentary victory lift has been activated in the main chamber.
This particular section went through several iterations because it's the first place where players are required to perform possibly the trickiest portal maneuver, the double fling. Originally, the room also featured an energy ball redirection puzzle. Combined with a new double fling,
this puzzle requires players to redirect an energy ball through multiple portal placements. The multiple steps caused many early playtesters to panic and accidentally redirect a ball right into themselves, with deadly results. We redesigned the test chambers so that portals can only be placed in the top half of the room, which solved the problem by generally leaving players out of the ball's reach.
We noticed through our playtests that many of our players weren't aware of the fact that you could place portals while falling. Since placing portals as you are falling is essential to accomplishing flings and many other portal tricks, we implemented this puzzle so that the only way to solve it was to use the mid-air placement tactic. It took numerous iterations and lots of tuning before this consistently...
Perhaps the most important purpose of this final test chamber is to cement the double fling maneuver training. For previous flings, we employed a visual cue, a pushed out section of a wall. In preparation for the more freeform behind the scenes levels, however, we take the training wheels off. To proceed, players must realize they can double fling almost anywhere they want to, with or without hints.
А, чё я туплю? Так надо поставить, все. Чё я туплю?
In this puzzle, we wanted players to realize that using portals, they can travel long distances in a short step. Originally, we had stairs from the ground level to the upper rooms. Many playtesters, however, were able to run from one room to the other quickly enough to consider it a solution, without ever thinking to use the even easier portal method. By changing the stairs to very slow-moving lifts, we were able to level the travel time for all player experience levels, thus making the intended solution more clear.
Да ну... Снимаешься, что ли?
Did you know you can donate one or all of your vital organs to the Aperture Science Self-Esteem Fund for Girls? It's true.
Прекрасная игра с прекрасными технологиями.
Due to mandatory scheduled maintenance, the appropriate chamber for this testing sequence is currently unavailable. It has been replaced with a live fire course designed for military androids. The Enrichment Center apologizes for the inconvenience and wishes you the best of luck.
For Portal, we wanted to create a turret that was different from the traditional Half-Life 2 turrets. The Half-Life 2 turret...
Even though we didn't want Portal to be too combat heavy, we wanted to add at least a light combat mechanic. After a few less than successful attempts to actually realize this light combat concept, we settled on turrets as a good compromise. The turrets can be defeated with tricky portal maneuvers, but they're also susceptible to a more straightforward berserker approach.
Не знаю. Первый раз слышу. Я модами особо не интересуюсь.
Who's there? Searching. Down, searching. Who are you? Acting a target. Put me down.
Portal Revolution, знаю. Такой нашумевший
Well done, Android. The Enrichment Center once again reminds you that Android Hell is a real place where you will be sent at the first sign of defiance. The vital apparatus vent will deliver a weighted companion cube in 3.
We designed this hall so that players had to use a box as a shield, but many playtesters read it as an avoid the energy ball timing puzzle and simply left the box behind.
Take care of it.
We solved this in large part by having the AI talk about the box. A lot. Once the dialogue went in, playtesters went from routinely abandoning the box to never wanting it to leave their side. Since we weren't going to make the players lug a box around for the rest of the game, we had a scene at the end of the level where the players are forced to kill the box.
The Enrichment Center reminds you that the weighted companion cube will never threaten to stab you and, in fact, cannot speak.
Что за бред?
The Enrichment Center reminds you that the weighted companion cube cannot speak. In the event that the weighted companion cube does speak, the Enrichment Center urges you to disregard its advice.
Сюда надо его. Так просто. Я ничего не понял. Ой, что я сделал? Надо было куб брать с собой сразу. Я же уже это активировал, и она не хочет работать больше. Прекрасно.
You did it. The weighted companion cube certainly brought you
the awful end of the companion cube serves a dual purpose. It adds a lot more sinister character to our already pretty sinister AI, while simultaneously training the player to use the incinerator, a key component of the final level. The training has a nice dramatic payoff, since players later get to avenge the death of their good friend the companion cube by stuffing some of the AI's important parts into exactly the same type of incinerator.
Creating the AI voice was a multi-step process. First, we ran every line of dialogue through an automatic text-to-speech program. In the studio, we cued the actress who plays Gladys, Ellen McLean, with the computer-generated sound file. She'd mimic it, and then over the course of several takes, adjust her performance to clean up any words.
As an actor, you know, you come in, you do what you're told, you want to make your money, and sometimes you get good direction, and sometimes you don't get good direction. But it doesn't matter, and you certainly don't.
Creating the AI voice was a multi-step process. First, we ran every line of dialogue through an automatic text-to-speech program. In the studio, we cued the actress who plays Gladys, Ellen McLean, with the computer-generated sound file.
As an actor, you come in, you do what you're told, you want to make your money, and sometimes you get good direction, and as an actor, you come in, you do what you're told, you want to make your money, and sometimes you get good direction, and sometimes you don't get good direction. But it doesn't matter, and you certainly don't tell the production team any of this. But you come in, and they'll give you a lame line reading, and you're supposed to find some emotional value in that. But this is not what this team did. They would come in, for example, explosively indignant. That's a wonderful direction for an actor. So, I must say that the production team won me over, because so often I get bogus direction, but this time I was actually...
Well done. Be advised that the next test requires exposure to uninsulated electrical parts that may be dangerous under certain conditions. For more information, please attend an Enrichment Center Electrical Safety Seminar. Welcome to the final test. When you are done,
we use these moving platforms to add time pressure to puzzles. A sequence of simple decisions feels much more climactic under time pressure, in contrast to most puzzles in Portal which can be solved at the player's leisure. Puzzles that aren't time-bound can be more complex, but at the expense of being less dramatic.
Sometimes little details make a huge difference. For instance, we had to add the left side to this wall to give players a visual representation of how thick it is. Without it, playtesters frequently thought that the hall had just gotten impossibly narrower, panicked, and stopped making rational decisions.
Блин, что я сделал?
Sometimes little details make a huge difference. For instance, we had to add the left side to this wall to give players a visual representation of how thick it is. Without it, playtesters frequently thought that the hall had just gotten impossibly narrower, panicked, and stopped making rational decisions. Sometimes little details make a huge difference. For instance, we had to add the left side to this wall to give players a visual representation of how thick it is. Without it, playtesters frequently thought that the hall had just gotten impossibly narrow.
Congratulations. The test is now over.
Before the player escapes the fire pit, the AI dialogue is all delivered in computerized monotone. After the escape, however, Gladys gets progressively more expressive until, by the end, she's cycling through a whole mess of emotion. The role required an actor capable of mimicking the computer-generated voice while still infusing it with some real characters. Since we planned to end the game with a song, she also needed to have a good singing voice. The woman we ended up casting, Ellen McLean, is a great mimic, a terrific actor, and a classically trained operatic soprano, so that worked out pretty good.
What are you doing? Stop it. We are pleased that you made it through the final challenge where we pretended we were going to murder you. We are very, very happy for your success. We are throwing a party in honor of your tremendous success. Place the device on the ground, then lie on your stomach with your arms at your sides. A party associate will arrive shortly to collect you for your party. Make no further attempt.
In these new areas, we weren't using the surfaces the player is familiar with. The rules for which new surfaces portals can be placed on, and which surfaces are off limits, needed to be taught. So, we created this area both to show the player they have escaped into the guts of the facility, and to retrain them in which surfaces are valid for portal placement.
Okay, the test is over now. You win. Go back to the recovery
After
annex.
players escape, we let them solve an old chamber in a new way. This reintroduction of a familiar space, which can now be solved in an incorrect way, helps convey the sense that players are cheating the system while forging their own path through the facility.
Where do you think you're going? Because I don't think you're going where you think you're going. Hello?
One bizarre fact of game design is that without some serious prompting, players will rarely look up. In this case, the prompt is the ladder. Most players will investigate where the ladder goes, which is up. The ladder actually falls apart as soon as it's touched, but by then it's served its purpose.
We designed the post-escape levels to give players brief glimpses of the inner workings of the Enrichment Center.
Through playtesting, we discovered that
during development, we'd often run across some piece of level design that would break the portal system. For instance, this ceiling-to-ceiling transition was an unexpected edge case.
Through playtesting, we discovered that
during development, we'd often run across some piece of level design that would break the portal system. For instance, this ceiling-to-ceiling transition was an unexpected edge case that ended up requiring a lot of effort to make work. We tried never to take the easy route of simply changing the level design to work with existing Portal technology. We knew that once the game was out in the wild, custom map creators would stress the system in ways we hadn't even considered, so we made it as flexible as possible.
In the sound booth, you're only connected to the production team by an intercom, and they can talk about you, and you don't know what they're saying. But you trust that they're being kind. And, you know, they'll push a button and
as the end of the game draws closer, we increase the ratio of time-pressured puzzles, like this turret ambush, to give the players the sense that they're approaching a climactic encounter.
An important design goal of these post-escape levels was to give players the sense that they're running wild inside the guts of the facility. With that in mind, we added plenty of nooks and crannies for players to crawl into or place portals through. This ended up being a tricky lighting challenge, as the areas needed to be bright enough to navigate, while still being dim enough to feel like obscure, disused sections of the building.
I don't blame you.
This is your fault. It didn't have to be like this. I'm not kidding now. Turn back or I will kill you. I'm going to kill you. And all the cake is gone. You don't even care.
These rocket sentries originally fired lasers. We switched from lasers to rockets after we introduced the glass breaking mechanic, mainly because glass shattering in a massive rocket explosion turned out to be a lot more satisfying than glass just slowly being melted by a laser. Originally, they also spoke, just like the bullet turrets. Because players often redirect the rockets with their backs to the...
Breaking this tube gives players a chance to test out their newly trained rocket redirecting and glass breaking skills in a slightly different context, which helps cement the training.
Блин, я понял, чего тупил. В прошлый раз. Надо было разбить просто эту вот штуку. Он же сломал. Точно надо было куб выбить, просто я тут что-то химичу.
This massive turret ambush was originally a lot more massive, with turrets that dropped from the ceiling and popped out of surprise hatches. In fact, for a while, it was the game's climactic battle. Through playtesting, we learned that this type of pure combat experience didn't really fit with the preceding few hours of player training. Over several iterations, we toned down the combat and made the room more about using portal momentum to fling yourself great distances, a skill that playtesters really enjoyed using, and that's a key component of what eventually became our final battle.
Please put
Originally, these catwalks were decorative, but playtesters consistently thought they were significant and often spent a lot of time trying to reach them. We didn't want to stand between people and their desire to walk on the catwalks, so we redesigned the area to make catwalks not only accessible, but also necessary to proceed.
fiction behind
GLaDOS, the rogue disk operating system that now runs Aperture Science, went through a bunch of design iterations. Early versions included a floating brain, a sprawling spidery mechanism, and an upside-down version of Botticelli's Rise of Venus built out of robot parts and wire. Eventually, we settled on a huge mechanical device with a delicate robotic figure dangling out of it, which successfully conveys both GLaDOS's raw power and her femininity.
Do you see that thing that fell out of me? What is that? It's not the surprise. I've never seen it before. Never mind. It's a mystery I'll solve later. Where are you taking? You're kidding me. Did you just stuff that Aperture Science thing, we don't know what it does, into an Aperture Science Emergency Intelligence Incinerator? That has got to be the dumbest thing that— Whoa, 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 whoa. Good news. I figured out what that thing you just incinerated did. It was a morality core they installed after I flooded the enrichment center with a deadly neurotoxin to make me stop flooding the enrichment center with a deadly neurotoxin. So get comfortable while I warm up the neurotoxin emitters. Oh, that core may have had some ancillary responsibilities. I can't shut off the turret defenses. Oh well. If you want my advice, you should just lie down in front of a rocket. Trust me, it'll be a lot less painful than a neurotoxin. Alright, keep doing whatever it is you think you're doing. Killing you. Civ, the rocket really is the way to go. That thing you learned out isn't important to me. It's the fluid catalytic cracking unit. It makes shoes for orphans. Nice job breaking. You think you're doing some damage?
2 + 2 is 4.
In base 4, I'm fine. I let you behavior. Well, you've managed to destroy that part of me. Unfortunately, as much as I'd love to now, I can't get the neurotoxin into your head any faster. I'd just like to point out that you were given every opportunity to succeed. There was even going to be a party for you. A big party that all your friends were invited to. Neurotoxin. So deadly. Choking.
Kidding.
When I said deadly neurotoxin, the deadly was in massive sarcasm quote. I could take a bath in this stuff, putting in cereal rubber right into my eyes. You, on the other hand, are going to find its deadliness a lot less funny. Who's gonna make the cake when I'm gone? You. Look, you're wasting your time. And believe me, you don't have a whole lot left to waste. What's your point anyway? Survival. Well then, the last thing you want to do is hurt me. I have your brain scanned and permanently backed up in case something terrible happens to you. Which it's just about to. Don't believe me? Here, I'll put you... Sam.
You've been wrong about every single thing you've ever done.
Including this thing. You're not smart. You're not a scientist. You're not a doctor. You're not even a full-time employee. Where did your life go so wrong? Are you trying to escape? Things have changed. It's not any better. I can't remember what wish.
F5, что? Я нажал F5 случайно. Сделать скриншот, блин. А куда он сохранился? О, RTX 4090 валяется. Слева видеокарта.
Thank you for assuming the party at current submission position.
Опять сейчас эти все катсцены и титры будут, походу. Понятно. Я понял. Не знаю, есть смысл вообще это загружать. Мы это все видели. Эти все титры. Титры, не титры. Что-то на он залагало опять. Все залагало полностью опять. Прикол. Ладно, тогда не важно. Неважно, мы это смотрели, там уже точно никаких комментариев не будет, так что ладно. Все прошли. Мы вот это. Что, на этом, в принципе, все. С Portal. Эту ачивку я сам сегодня добью. Сегодня утром был видос по метро. Я его вчера не выложил. Выложил сегодня утром. Второй видос, наверное, сегодня вечером еще выложу. Вот. Получается, на этом с Portal все. Я еще пока не решил, что буду проходить. Но до завтра, думаю, решу и скачаю. И уже как бы все будет окей. Начнем завтра какую-нибудь игру проходить, посмотрим, что я решу. Вот. Ну, на этом пока что все. Всем спасибо, кто смотрел. Подписывайтесь на канал, оцените видео, пишите комментарии, свой свет, добавляйте в плейлисты, подписывайтесь на Twitch. И всем удачи, всем пока.